Well, hello there, and thank you for joining me for the latest edition of Telile 24/7. I'm your host, Adam Cook. On this week's show, I'll sit down with Richmond County's newest Deputy Warden, District 1 Councillor Shawn Samson. And we'll see the return of Telile's famous Fast Five game later in the program. But we're going to begin with a conversation with Cape Breton-Canso Liberal Member of Parliament, Mike Kelloway. We're going to be discussing a number of different things in this conversation, everything from a new national pharmacare program that's been promised by Mike Kelloway's Liberal government, but also some developments on the green hydrogen front for the Strait area. We begin this week, however, by talking about a recent reversal of policy for the Liberal government of Ottawa with regards to carbon pricing. Just last week, Mike Kelloway was present as several Atlantic Canadian members of Parliament joined the Prime Minister to announce that there would be a 3-year pause on carbon pricing for home heating oil in Atlantic Canada. Is this a matter of having listened to constituents, or is it a response to the Liberals' plunging poll numbers across the country? We're going to hear from Liberal MP Mike Kelloway about all of this right now. And we are pleased to welcome back to Telile 24/7, a regular guest here, and we have a number of different things we'd like to speak to him about. He is, of course, the Member of Parliament for Cape Breton-Canso. He is Mike Kelloway. Thank you for joining me once again for Telile 24/7, Mike.
Always great to be with you, Adam.
Well, we have a number of things that we're going to be discussing over the next little bit, and one of the big reasons I wanted to speak to you personally is about a recent policy reversal regarding the carbon pricing system that the federal government brought in this past July. The Prime Minister announced just last week that there would be a 3-year pause on carbon pricing on home heating oil in Atlantic Canada. And I'm just wondering, obviously, this would have been something you would have been hearing about through your constituents. Can you tell me a little bit about the nature of this announcement and what you personally feel about the idea that there would be a 3-year pause on the carbon tax for home heating oil?
Well, first, thanks again for having me, Adam. And it's always a great opportunity to be with you in Telile and talk about the things that are happening in Ottawa and how they happen, and why I think they're of benefit to the constituents of Cape Breton and northeastern Nova Scotia. So to start off, myself and Cody Blois, who's a member of Parliament for Kings-Hants, very early on, we felt that it was important to look at some policy shifts or modifications to carbon pricing. Every Cape Bretoner and every Nova Scotian is very familiar with climate change. We've seen it firsthand over the last year with hurricane, floods, and fires, and we know that it's getting more frequent, not less frequent, and we have to do something about that. So Nova Scotians know that, but we also know that we, as a government and as rural MPs, we also know that in rural Canada, it is slightly different in terms of the availability of alternatives to heating your home and the ability to, for example, get heat pumps, and all of that is underpinned by affordability. So over the last 5 months, Cody and myself, and we were the large champions within Atlantic Caucus. Much of what you see as a result of our advocacy, and Cody and myself and Sean Fraser, has come out, and the Prime Minister listening to us and making these changes. And the changes are important because number one, let's tackle it one by one if we can. If you look at home heating and putting an exemption of home heating for 3 years, well, it's important for people to have time to get off of home heating. And we need time to do that. Most of the homes in Cape Breton, most of the homes in Nova Scotia are actually heated by home heating oil. And home heating oil is about to put it in perspectives, it's about 3 to 4 times higher in environmental emissions than, say, natural gas is. So we need, number one, people are on home heating, majority of them. And we need for them to have time to get off of home heating. The second piece is just as important as the home heating is the first piece that I just addressed. So the home heating pumps is what we're focused on simultaneously, looking at the installation of free heat pumps for those that are at or below the medium house income. So the idea is get the heat pumps ready, allow people time to get off, and also provide them the means by which to get off, which is the affordability piece. They're basically, in essence, free heat pumps. So that's the second piece. The third piece is around a bonus incentive. So if you're at or below the median household income, as I mentioned, you'll get a bonus incentive credit of $250 to switch from oil to heat pumps. That is another incentive to get off of oil quicker. The third piece is around those that are above the median house income. So if you're above the household income and you're looking to get off of oil and get a heat pump, we have the ability for you to, and this would be zero interest, to get a loan and over 10 years pay off that loan. And basically you will be able to pay off that loan because of the savings that you have from the home heat pumps. So this is about being smart and strategic. It is also around when you're looking at policy, like we did, and say, okay, there is a reality that needs to be put into place that aligns to the reality of people that live in rural Canada, rural Cape Breton, rural Nova Scotia. I was one of the leaders on this, and I have to say that I wasn't alone. And you mentioned about what were the people back home saying. People back home were saying, look, we understand that climate change is real. We have experienced it firsthand in Cape Breton and Nova Scotia, but we also need the ability to pivot a little longer, have a little bit more time to pivot to home heating. And we also need affordability measures that are in place to help you make the transition. So to me, this is about a $500 million, $500 million investment in Atlantic Canada. And it also, I believe that effective governments and effective policy have the ability to go back to your constituents, hear from your constituents, and then go back to government and say, okay, here's where we're falling short. Here's where we can do better while still maintaining two things, affordability and environmental targets. I think this will accelerate the focus on the environment because people will have the means to go and get a heat pump, get off of a very toxic and very high emitting fuel, which is oil, and get into the heat pump arena. And I couldn't be more happier. And I want to thank the people of Cape Breton and Northeastern Nova Scotia. I'm very much a grassroots politician in the last number of months, listening to my constituents, and then going to Ottawa, meeting the Prime Minister, meeting the Minister of Freeland, Minister Wilkinson, Minister Guilbeault, our Nova Scotia Minister, Sean Fraser, and say, I want to take a shot along with Cody and some other MPs to provide some interesting modifications that I think will help Atlantic Canadians, help Nova Scotians, and help people in my riding.
Now, I want to ask you, Mike, cynics, and there will always be cynics at times like this, have been suggesting that this policy reversal has less to do with Liberal MPs in Atlantic Canada listening to their constituents and plunging poll numbers for the Liberal Party, both locally and regionally. Your response to that and your response to the idea that this is not so much about a social economic reaction as it is a political reaction?
Well, I think that number one, good policy has the room and maneuver to be modified. And I look at what's going to help the people of Cape Breton-Canso. I really don't look at the poll numbers. The poll numbers are a shot in time. In 2015, 4 to 5 weeks before the election, it had the NDP forming the next government. So things can change pretty quickly. I look at what it's going to do to help people, what it's going to do to help make sure that we hit our environmental targets. If I look at the Conservatives, and the Conservative supporters that go on, ad nauseum on Facebook to promote a lot of interesting scenarios, I will say this: what is the Conservative policy on carbon? Well, they ran on a carbon price last election. You wouldn't know it now. They do not have a plan. They've not mentioned environment once. Their plan is to cancel the carbon tax, ask you to bring back all the money that people have received from the carbon rebate, which we seldom talk about the carbon rebate, but the people are receiving quarterly checks as a result of the carbon rebate, because the government doesn't collect the tax on gas fuel as it relates to carbon. It is recirculated back to the population. So people can be cynical about it, and I think that that's fine. But my job is to lead. My job is to listen. My job is to put forward modifications that are going to enable Cape Breton and northeastern Nova Scotia to be a leader here, but also a leader in another item that I know we're going to talk about, Bill C49, which is basically a bill to change the regulatory framework so we can bring on offshore wind and green hydrogen industry in the Cape Breton, northeastern Nova Scotia, with the Conservatives also opposed. So leadership is tough, but you need to make the pivots where you need to make them. And this is why they're made, Adam, quite frankly, is because it's in the best interest, in my belief, of the people of Cape Breton-Canso. And keep this in mind. I mean, myself and some other MPs have been working on this for quite some time, prior to July 1st, when the carbon pricing went into effect. So sometimes it takes time, but I think the right decisions overwhelmingly have been made. And yes, Pierre Poilievre can go and be his Trumpian self and go from rally to rally, echoing what Marjorie Taylor Greene would in the United States, or Matt Gaetz, or Lauren Boebert, or Trump himself. I don't think that's what Canadians want, and I think over time that will hold true.
Now, I'm glad you brought up Bill C49, because we do want to speak about that and about its potential impact on green hydrogen development here in the Strait.
Right.
One
Yes.
more thing I'd like to pick up with you on, Mike, in terms of the carbon pricing pause for home heating oil. You mentioned people of certain incomes being eligible not only for rebates and not only for the pause, but also for being able to get heat pumps installed. What is the plan in terms of the rollout of that part of it? Can people apply for that now? Can they contact your office? How is all this going to play out over the next few months?
Well, let's look at it piece by piece. So we're looking at the exemption on home heating to start to go into effect on November 9th of this year. So it's not 12 months down the road or 8 weeks down the road. It's a couple of weeks down the road. So that is a number that people should remember, the date and when we're exempting home heating. The heat pumps, well, as you can imagine, will be a big undertaking. And I believe, Adam, most likely that will be with our existing partnership with the province, Efficiency Nova Scotia, but stay tuned to that. There'll be more announcements in the coming weeks on the bonus credit, like the actual credit to sign up, how do you get them, and things of that nature. But more than likely, that will be done in conjunction with the province, using existing departments like Efficiency Nova Scotia, but more will come to that. And by the way, it gives me a chance to say a couple of things: that the province of Nova Scotia embraces this move. The Ecology Center in Halifax embraces this move. And the other thing that is important to mention is that in the coming months, we'll double the rural rebate, which all Cape Bretoners get now, and we'll double it from 10% to 20%. So again, this is a massive change for the right reasons. It's not political. It wasn't for me. I will say that to you, the interview that I do after I'm done with politics, it was because it's the right thing to do to get people to move from a dirty fuel to a cleaner way to heat their homes, to a cleaner way to live their lives, and do so while keeping an absolute affordability lens on Cape Breton and northeastern Nova Scotian citizens.
All right. Well, we look forward to seeing what comes next over the coming days, as you mentioned, in the coming weeks and months. Let's shift gears now. We've mentioned now a couple of times Bill C49, which is designed to strengthen green hydrogen development here in Atlantic Canada, and particularly here in the Strait, where we've seen a lot of busyness happening on that front over the past year. Your thoughts on what exactly this bill could do to help, and why you feel it's important to this region in particular?
Well, it is absolutely essential for a brand new industries to happen in Cape Breton and northeastern Nova Scotia, and the Strait area in particular. I think of the Quad Counties and the opportunities here for offshore wind industry and for green hydrogen to take place here, to grow, to blossom, to be utilized to export energy to Europe, to greening our own grid. I see jobs, I see economic growth, community growth, and we're changing. We want to change through this bill, Adam, and this is important for people in the riding, in particular Cape Breton-Canso, our riding, that the Conservatives are voting against the regulatory changes we want to make it easier for industry in green hydrogen and offshore wind to happen here, to take hold here. The regulatory framework also sees greater collaboration with the fishing industry. So these new industries working hand in glove in terms of another big industry that brings billions of dollars to the local economy and regional economy in fisheries. The Conservatives are saying no to Cape Breton-Canso. They're saying no to Atlantic Canada right now, and I don't understand why. I think people in our area need to take notice of this bill, because this is the foundational document that will lead to, I think, the potential for an amazing industry. I can see us being the green hub of Canada with this legislation, because it's that foundational, it's that important. I read a report, Adam, that talked about in Atlantic Canada, if all things happen the way we hope, that there could be $1 trillion in the private sector invested in offshore wind and green hydrogen in Atlantic Canada. A large number of that happening in Cape Breton, northeastern Nova Scotia. So MPs of all stripes, in my opinion, need to vote for this particular bill. The Conservatives are not voting for it. They're looking at it from a different perspective, perhaps, and how this plays out in Western Canada. I need to worry about my riding, and I need to focus on my riding. I'll continue to fight on this. I'm very passionate. I've spoken in the House about this. I don't understand why they're not voting for this. It doesn't make sense for them to vote against this. But this is an example of, in my opinion, of a different type of politic. And it's a politic that is a more American style politic that we're seeing. I don't think Canadians at the end of the day will accept that, but we'll wait and see. But in this case, it is absolutely shocking. And I'm gobsmacked by the fact that they're voting against Nova Scotia, Cape Breton, northeastern Nova Scotia with respect to this legislation. And I'll fight to the last breath on this one, because this is about our future. This is about future jobs, future businesses. This is about Richmond County. This is about Inverness County. This is about Guysborough and Antigonish and the CBRM, but all of Atlantic Canada. And I think people need to take notice of it and ask, why are you voting against this? Why are you voting against legislation that will lay the regulatory framework for a new industry in Nova Scotia, where we could be what Alberta was to the oil sector? We could be in Atlantic Canada, the same thing, but in the green and renewable sector. It helps Nova Scotians and it helps the economy, but it also helps other businesses that are waiting and looking to see what we're doing. What are we going to do in terms of our own policies? Let's go back to the carbon for a second. The carbon pricing, yes, it's for us to get off of dirty fuels and transition and change our behaviors, and we're addressing it with our new changes on the affordability piece, which is important. But also businesses are looking; those green businesses that want to set up shop in Cape Breton, northeastern Nova Scotia, are looking to how we tackle the environment, because they want to put their own environmental company here when it comes to offshore wind and green hydrogen. Everything is interwoven. And this government gets that. We understand that, as you do, as most of your viewers do, that climate change is real, that climate change is here. And we need to do something about it. But we also understand the affordability piece. But we also, too, understand that we can lead the way in Cape Breton and northeastern Nova Scotia with renewable energy. That's what Bill C-49 is about. We get it. Some people don't. But Cape Bretoners and northeastern Nova Scotian folks, I want to be real for a second. This is a real opportunity that is being thwarted by other folks. And I can tell you that I'll stand up every day in the House if I have to make sure that this bill is passed.
We'll hear more from Cape Breton-Canso MP Mike Kelloway later on in the show. Right now, we'd like to welcome back a familiar face to the Telile studios here in Arishat. That's partly because he is the councillor for District 1 for Richmond County. He just became the Deputy Warden for the municipality. We are pleased to welcome Shawn Samson back to Telile 24/7. Thank you very much, Deputy Warden Samson, for joining me today.
Thanks very much, Adam. It's always a pleasure to be here with you and the staff here at Telile, and we appreciate everything you guys do for the county and our residents and keeping everybody informed, right? So, pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Well, we're very happy to be able to do that and to be able to have you be a part of that. So, just a couple of weeks ago, you became Richmond County's new Deputy Warden as you're heading into the final year of your first inaugural council term. How do you feel about being able to serve as Deputy Warden right now?
I'm honored, Adam. You know, it's an honor for me. I mean, to be Deputy Warden and serve my district, but all of Richmond County, and to work closely with our Warden Amanda Mummerkett and the rest of our council team, it's an honor, right? But having said that, Adam, I've been honored since October 17th of 2020, since the residents of District 1 elected me to represent them. It's been an honor and a privilege, and I appreciate every moment of it.
Now, we'll pick up on that in just a moment, but I wanted to mention to you, I was talking to Warden Mummerkett not all that long ago. She pointed out that it seems to have become a tradition over the last few years that the previous Deputy Warden is the one that nominates the person who would be going forward as the new Deputy Warden. Of course, sometimes you wind up with two candidates, but over the last 3 years, it seemed like the previous deputy nominates the new deputy. That was the case for you when District 5 Councillor Brent Sampson nominated you at the latest regular monthly meeting on October 23rd. What do you think of that idea of a tradition for that?
For me, Adam, I think it's a testament to our council team and our approach right from the start and our work ethic right from the start. You know, from the start, we put our faith and trust into Amanda Mummerkett to lead us as warden, and she's done a great job for our county and for our team. And you know, in the end, when you look at it, and you're right when it comes to the way it played out, in the end, Michael, Melanie, Brent, and I, in that order, are all going to have the opportunity to serve our residents and serve our county as Deputy Warden. So I think it was a great approach on our behalf.
You talked a moment ago about what an honor it was to be elected on October the 17th, 2020. It's now been just over 3 years since that election and just over 3 years since you were sworn in as District 1 councillor. How does your thought of what it could be like to serve on council compare to what actually has happened over those 3 years? Were there any moments of, boy, I wish I'd known this, or what has it been like for you?
Yeah, so foremost, for me, the most important thing, and my sense of pride. The pride, you know, and the love I have for my community is what got me to this point and what made me choose to get involved. So first and foremost, I'm very proud to be one of the 5 that are working hard to make Richmond County a better place and to move our county forward. So it's a privilege and an honor. So that I expected, that sense of pride and appreciation for my residents and putting their faith in me, I expected that. The big surprise, and it's not different, we just weren't too aware of it as being a brand new council. The big surprise for me, Adam, would be the committee work. All the work that we have to do committee-wise, you know, and that work is part of a job of a councillor. So it's not that it's different, because it was always there. It was just a surprise that it entailed that much. And the reason it entailed that much is when it went from 10 councillors down to 5, that workload intensified in a hurry, right?
Yeah.
So when you look at public advisory committees, bylaw and policy committees, police advisory committees, recreation, accessibility, boards with the Richmond Villa, Landry Lake, Eastern District Plan Commission, that to me was, you know, a big surprise and a big workload, and it's been fun. It's been great. I wouldn't change it, but yeah, when you asked, you know, what was the difference, that would be the big difference and the big surprise for me. Yeah.
Big learning curve for you as a new councillor.
Big learning curve, yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So let's go from the past and the recent past into the present. What do you feel is your biggest interest and your biggest concern as a councillor right now? Now, it could be the same as the overall direction of the municipality, but for you, Shawn Samson, representing District 1, what do you think is top of your agenda at this point?
Right now, Adam, it would be our aging infrastructure and building a reserve for that aging infrastructure. I mean, when you look at the triple threat of declining population, rising cost and inflation, and aging infrastructure, those are hard to ignore. and we've been working hard with staff to make sure that we plan for the future. And what I need residents to really realize, Adam, when it comes to tax rate increases or water rate or sewer rate increases, most of what happens around the council table, Adam, and the discussions around budget deliberations, most of that comes from staff recommendations. So our Director of Public Works, our CFO, our Director of Recreation will say, to push forward, we recommend this, we recommend that, So a lot of that stuff comes from recommendation of staff, and we've been working very closely with staff to make sure that we build reserves for this aging infrastructure. For example, we had to close up the landfill sites in Lord Wes and in West Ayrshire. That was on the radar, Adam, for years, and for me, maybe ignored way too long, because at the end of the day, if you don't plan for the future a little at a time, it's going to be a very big shock at the end. So for me, Adam, I felt that, when we first got in, and I told this to many people, I said, it felt like we were left holding the bag, because of all these things that had to be done and taken care of and plan for the future and build a reserve for the future. So, when it comes to, a flat rate for the water and sewer, people were like, oh, geez, my sewer and water rate went up. And yes, it did. But now it's a flat rate for everybody in Richmond County. And to go back to what I said during the campaign, Adam, what's good for District 1 is good for Richmond County. And what's good for Richmond County is good for all districts, right? So we got that approach now to the point where we're all in this together, right? So the flat rate is going to help us in the long run when it comes to replacing aging infrastructure such as the water and sewer treatment plant here in Ayrshire and the one in Peregrine. So going back to my take on holding the bag, I tell all my residents, with these rate increases and the sewer rate increases, a little at a time, it's hard for us to ignore all this aging infrastructure, and it's hard for us to ignore what's coming down the pipeline. And if we do, it means holding on to the bag even longer. And if we hold on to the bag, Adam, and something happens drastically to some of this infrastructure, then you have to let go of the bag. You got to drop the bag. Yeah. And the bag's going to bust. Yeah. And it's going to be a big shock to our taxpayers. So we're working very closely now with recommendations from staff to slowly put the bag down. And I think that's the best approach. And we've worked with staff, and I think it's working well. And again, looking to the future, and any council member that would come on board 2024 or longer, I would give them that advice that hold on to the bag, and that's okay, but slowly work to put the bag down and set it down. Because if you have to drop it, it's going to be a bad situation for everybody, right? So,
yeah. And I don't want to dwell on this particular topic too much, but you talk about letting the bag down slowly, and you and your fellow councillors got a bit of a rude surprise added to the bag recently when the bids for the tender for solid waste collection in Zone 3, including your district, came back much higher than the original tender came out. And this seems to be a trend not only for Richmond County, but the neighboring municipality, the town of Port Hawkesbury, has struggled with it. Seems to be a province-wide trend that inflationary measures are driving up the cost of a lot of these things. How much more difficult does that make your job and the job of the municipality overall? Yeah,
so I mean, when it comes to that tender specifically, Adam, I think it's going to cost us $135,000 in the 2024-2025 budget, which I think will work itself out. But as you said, in the future, what does that mean for future tenders, and the people that are running these trucks and paying for fuel and paying for maintenance and all that stuff. I'm in the food service business myself, Adam, and I know what it takes to run trucks across the province of Nova Scotia, and it's getting tougher and tougher every day. So, yeah, we're going to have to plan for that, and hopefully staff will come out with, again, some recommendations to help us as a council and, you know, lower the burden financially as much as possible to the taxpayer, right, to make sure that these tenders and this work is carried on, but at the lowest financial burden possible, right?
Okay. Yeah. We've talked for the last couple of minutes about some of the challenges that you've faced as a councillor and that the municipality has faced. Let's turn that around a little bit. What would you describe as your proudest or most positive moments as the District 1 councillor over the past couple of years?
Yeah. So from a councillor perspective and as a council team perspective, Adam, it's not one particular proud moment. It's being proud the last 3 years and hopefully going into our last year. I'm proud of our team and our work ethic and our approach. During the campaign, Adam, I was here in this studio and you would have heard me say that, and I gave advice to all the candidates running at that time. And if you'd remember, Adam, I said, do not stop campaigning after the election.
Yeah, I do remember that.
Right. So what I meant by that, Adam, is once we're around that table, it's obvious that the votes are never going to be 5-0. There's going to be some discussion. There's going to be some 4-1, 3-2 votes. That's the norm. That's people expect that. But what I wanted was for us to do it in a respectful manner. And I'm proud to say that, you know, since the beginning of 2020, that has been the case. And, you know, we discuss things and we campaign our ideas and our opinions on that topic. We vote on it and we do it in a respectful manner and we move on to the next topic. So I'm most proud of that situation, for sure. Right. From a community perspective, there's a lot of great groups, Adam, on this island. Volunteer groups, nonprofit groups, legions, community halls. It's great to be part and support and try to help out these groups as much as possible. So I'm proud to do as much as I can to support these guys, and I'm thankful for these operations and all these beautiful, incredible volunteers, right? But one that sticks out to me was our first Noel Almadam drive-through. Yeah. COVID times, Adam. Sociably, kids were suffering, parents were suffering, the communities were suffering, everybody was suffering. And Noel Almadam and Development Almadam, that was a big part of our Christmas tradition, and we couldn't have it that year. So we worked hard as a municipality, as a county, volunteers, Development Almadam, local businesses, to come out with a drive-through parade, more or less, for all the kids and the parents to stay in their car, to be able to social distance, but be able to see Santa Claus, and be able to have Santa Claus call them by name, and see some firefighters, and see some fire trucks, and get a bunch of Christmas treats, and see some Christmas trees. To me, that one there, Adam, sticks out to me, and it was a great. And to have the kids at the end, Councillor Digdon and I were at the end of the parade route, and to have kids and parents say, "This is great, thank you very much, this is awesome," you know, and see the kids all excited and showing us their treat bags and candy canes and all that stuff. That one there for sure, Adam. You know, there's lots of great memories and proud moments. That one there sticks out for sure.
Yeah. You don't forget a time like that, and you don't forget when you see the resilience and the cooperation of the entire community come together like that. Right. So I can very much imagine that still moves you to this day.
It almost brings tears to my eyes. Yeah.
No, I'm not surprised. Yeah. All right, just one more question for you, Deputy Warden Samson. We're now in the home stretch for the final year of your mandate, your 2020 mandate. Within the next 9 to 10 months, you will have to make a decision about whether you're going to reoffer. Have you thought about that at this point?
I've given it some thought, Adam, and as I mentioned, you know, to a lot of people, and I mentioned to you earlier. I mean, a lot can happen in a 12-month span. A lot can happen, you know, in that time. Things can get derailed personally, professionally. You know, you just can't predict what's going to happen in the future. But sitting with you here today, if things are the norm and things are the same, and there's no surprises. I would say yes, that, you know, I enjoy what I do for the community. I enjoy our team. I enjoy you know, helping build Richmond County and moving Richmond County forward. So I look forward to it after 2024 and hopefully well into the future. Yeah.
All right, well, we look forward to seeing how that all comes together, and we are not pressuring anybody to make an announcement right here on this show ever, so, but we appreciate your candor and your openness about that. We've covered a lot of ground in just the past few minutes, Councillor Samson, as I thought we might. Did you want to add anything else before we wrap up here?
No, Adam, again, you know, I just want to thank you and the staff here at Telile. You guys do great work here to keep our community informed and you know, keep our council team you know, sharp and you know, helping us inform the public and you know, more or less putting our meetings out there and information about the municipality out there to our viewers. So and you know, to our community. So I appreciate all of you here at Telile, and thank you for everything.
No trouble at all. We all do what we can to make sure people know what's going on with Richmond Municipal Council, for sure. All right. Councillor Shawn Samson just became Richmond County's new Deputy Warden. You're going to see a little bit more of him later on in this episode of Telile 24/7 as Deputy Warden Samson takes our infamous Fast Five quiz. But right now, let's shift back to our conversation with Cape Breton-Canso MP Mike Kelloway. His Liberal Party recently received a challenge from the leader of the New Democratic Party, Jagmeet Singh, about a promise that was made when the NDP agreed to support the Liberals until 2025 as part of a supply and confidence agreement between the two parties. Leader Singh has now said that the Liberals have to deliver on their promise of a national pharmacare program. So what does MP Kelloway think about that? Here is the Cape Breton-Canso Liberal representative in his own words.
Well, I mean, let's tackle pharmacare. I do think, in fact, I know many of us, whether you're a New Democratic, a Liberal, or you may be even a Conservative, believe in pharmacare. There's not many, but they're there. They're quiet, but they're there. Is necessary. And when I think of our agreement with the NDP, there's several focal points to it. Dental care, which we are making happen, and that's progressing. Pharmacare, look, I think that there's a lot of things that will have to be in play. One is to establish a framework for it, will be key. Number two is to have conversations, meaningful, important conversations with the premiers. Because I don't know if you can do it without the province's support. But we're focused on pharmacare. I've ran on pharmacare in 2019 and 2021. I believe in pharmacare. I don't think there should be a choice between having 3 meals a day and your pills. And there's some people that have to make that choice. As a country, we're better than that. I think pharmacare is a natural evolution of Medicare. Our party understands that. The NDP are proponents of it as well. And I think we'll see movements in that direction in the next month or two. I know that our leadership are meeting with the NDP leadership on a consistent basis to look at, you know, agreements in principle as to the frameworks and how does this work. Because you can imagine, you can't just over one night say, okay, we have pharmacare. There's a lot of moving pieces, the provinces being one. And it may be, and I don't know if this is the case, but it may be that you go with a coalition of the willing of provinces and start there. We'll wait and see. But I believe that we will work towards a common framework to work from when it comes to pharmacare that will lead to pharmacare in the future. I wish there was pharmacare now. I believe there needs to be pharmacare now. But I think that the relationship with the NDP is one based on we're different in a lot of ways in terms of our policies, and there's similarities. One of them is pharmacare, and I think we'll see some movement in due course.
All right, one more quick one for you, Mike, and that is about your predecessor, Roger Cuzner, being named to the Canadian Senate just last week, and wanted to get some thoughts from you about the idea of former MP, former ambassador to New England, and now Senator Cuzner being able to serve in this way in public life. Your thoughts?
Well, I think it's a natural extension of who Roger is. Roger is a very much a leader. And people want to work with Roger, be with Roger, no matter what party you're in. He's worked across party lines. He always has the community at heart. He was a strong advocate as an MP. He'll be a strong advocate for Cape Breton, for Nova Scotia when he's up in Ottawa. I think a lot of Roger. He is a stand-up guy. He's so well respected in Ottawa. No matter where I go in Ottawa, people still talk about Roger Cuzner, and they talk about his time, his 19 years as an MP. But then they talk more about him as a kind, gentle person, and a person that brought people together to work towards common goals. He's going to do that in the Senate. I can't wait to see Roger in the Senate, and I think he will do great things. And Réjean Aucoin. Réjean is Acadian from Shetty and he also, I met Réjean, Adam, when I was on the Boundaries Commission provincially, and he was such an advocate for Acadian language and culture and participation in the political process. He's also equally as strong as Roger and committed to his community and committed to Nova Scotia. So, we have Roger Cuzner from Cape Breton-Canso. We have Réjean Aucoin from Cape Breton-Canso. 3 months ago, Chief PJ Prosper, who's also in Cape Breton-Canso, became a senator. That's 3 senators from Cape Breton-Canso that I get to work with on behalf of the people of Cape Breton and Northeastern Nova Scotia on common legislation, common policy, common approaches, common values, ones we all share. I look forward to it, and I really, want to say congratulations to Roger and to Réjean and to PJ. It's impressive to see those folks in the other places, we call it, in the House of Commons.
Mm-hmm. And with the Christmas season fast approaching, we look forward to seeing Senator Cuzner's first rhyming address to the Senate in a matter of weeks' time.
Absolutely. If they, I'm not sure if they actually televise the sittings in the Senate, but I'm sure we can find a mic, and I'm sure we can find a location for Mr. Cuzner to recite the poem. And it's something that's been missed, and it is uniquely Roger. Others have tried, and with all due respect to people in my party and people in the opposition who've tried, they don't reach that bar of Roger Cuzner when it comes to that poem. But it's a great news story for Cape Breton-Canso, as is the affordability measures that we put in place with respect to carbon pricing. People are going to get their quarterly checks, but they're also going to receive more money in their pockets at the end of the day with these modifications. And again, I want to say a sincere thanks to the people of the riding, because again, myself and Cody, and in particular, and our minister, Sean Fraser, from an Atlantic Canada perspective, we kind of led the charge. And so when I lead the charge on something, it's not just Mike Kelloway, it is the people of Cape Breton-Canso doing so as well.
And that brings us full circle in our conversation. Mike, we've covered a lot of ground here in just a short time, as we usually do. Did you have anything else you wanted to add just before we wrap up here?
Well, listen, I think in the coming months, we'll have a lot more announcements to make in the riding, some big ones. Stay tuned for those. And we continuously work for the people of Cape Breton-Canso. We're an office that hustles. We don't stop, and we're not going to stop until we get all of the items that we have on our docket that are going to be there to help people in Cape Breton-Canso. And for those that are against Bill C-49, I'm not exactly sure why they are, Adam, but to me, it is a vote against Cape Breton and Northeastern Nova Scotia, and it's something that I won't let stand. I can tell you that.
Well, the stories will continue over the next days, weeks, and months, but we appreciate you, Mike Kelloway, giving us some time here and giving us some thoughts about all of these, a real grab bag of issues from the federal side of things. Thanks so much, Mike Kelloway, for joining me once again on Telile 24/7.
Thanks, Adam. Take care.
All right, you too. Mike Kelloway is the Member of Parliament for Cape Breton-Canso. Stay tuned for more of Telile 24/7 in just a moment. And now we're pleased to welcome back the Deputy Warden and District 1 Councillor for Richmond County, Shawn Samson, as he prepares to take on Telile 24/7's Fast 5 game. Are you all ready for the Fast 5, Councillor Samson?
I'm good to go, Adam. I'm all set. Yep.
He's ready to roll. He's always ready to roll. Here we go. So, right off the top, question number 1, Coke or Pepsi?
Pepsi.
The last movie you saw?
I'm going to say Fast and Furious.
Fast and Furious, there we go. It kind of describes your leadership style. That's great, right on. Okay, what is your dream vacation?
Florida with my kids.
Ah, nicely done, good stuff. What is the best sandwich, Deputy Warden Samson?
Best sandwich, I'm going to say turkey salad.
Turkey salad, no, nice stuff, nice stuff. And if you could be any animal for one day, what would you be?
An animal for one day.
For one day.
One day an animal, eh? I'd be a horse.
Why a horse?
Just a racehorse.
Ah, there we go.
Right? Just the speed, the adrenaline, you know, the excitement of it all. Yep, racehorse. Yep.
So watch for the Deputy Warden roaring around the track in Inverness at some time soon.
There you go.
All right.
Those days are over, Adam. When it comes to speed and baseball, and those days are over. So,
there we go. Right on, right on. Well, Councillor Samson, we want to thank you for taking the Fast 5. Now you are known. Now people understand the real Deputy Warden. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome, Adam.
All right. So that wraps up this week's edition of Telile 24/7. Thank you for tuning in, and a special thank you to our interview guests this week, Deputy Warden Shawn Samson and Cape Breton-Canso MP Mike Kelloway. If you have any comments about what you've seen over the past little while here on Telile 24/7, or you'd just like to make suggestions for a future edition of the show, I'd love to hear them. You can contact me directly. My phone number is 902-625-8863, and you can reach me by email using the address adamjrcook, cook with an E, @gmail.com. You can also contact Telile Community Television directly with your suggestions and your comments. The station phone number here in Arishat is 902-226-1928, and the best email address to use is telile@telile.tv. And as always, you can follow Telile on social media. We're on X, formerly known as Twitter, and you can also see us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Our Telile YouTube channel features every single episode of Telile 24/7, including this one, as well as individual segments and interviews from our shows. We offer the same service for our sister program, Roundtable, and you can also see the latest French language journalism produced by the newest member of the Telile news team, Jacqueline Giroir. For now, I'm Adam Cook. Thank you once again for joining me for this week's edition of Telile 24/7. I look forward to seeing you again next week with a brand new show. Bye for now.